You're listening to 106.9 Tune FM here on the home of UNE's student-powered radio. My name's Ash and I'm joined in the studio again by the wonderful Dr Bridgette Glover, and we are going to be talking about film because I think this is going to become a bit of a recurring thing for us.
I just keep popping up. Sorry, guys, but it is such a pleasure to be back because this is really all I want to do is just talk about film, pick it apart, talk about what we loved, what we didn't love. So, yeah, bring me on anytime, Ash.
Absolutely. I think it warrants mentioning that you actually have like a doctorate in film studies. I'm just a guy who likes to watch movies.
No, I've read your essays. I marked some of your essays. You were fantastic. And yeah, definitely a bright star. So definitely both qualified to be here. Although we have had chats before where we often will say things that maybe we don't have expertise in. So definitely bear with us on that. Things like, literature.
I was going to say something about the sandwich thing from last time.
Yeah. Okay.
I still haven't figured out what that technique is called. No,
me either, but we'll get there.
So I think it's also worth mentioning that this episode is going to contain spoilers, specifically for Knives Out 3, or I guess Knives Out isn't really, it's more of like the subtitle.
He had a whole,
it's Wake Up Dead Man.
Yes, the director had a whole issue with it being even referred to a Knives Out film, which I think is kind of silly because that's the reason why we love these films is because it's part of this. I mean, he's probably going to be a saga, right? Like it's building a whole
Absolutely.
universe.
I think someone else has pointed out we've had one set in spring, summer and autumn, and we're just missing a winter one.
Okay, yes. So which was this? Because I was thinking about that earlier.
I think this is spring.
Spring, and then
it is spring. It's Easter.
You know, you're right. And the first one was autumn. So yeah, got it. Beautiful. I loved the palette. It really did have that cozy vibe again, which we can get into. But yeah, they're all cozy films in different ways. I would say the second film. Yeah, that's right. The second film was definitely obviously brighter, summery, but it still has that lovely locked in feeling. Oh, yeah, go.
So, for people who haven't seen Knives Out, it is directed and written by Rian Johnson.
Correct.
Of Star Wars fame.
Yes.
He's done a few other things, but I think he's probably most well known for Star Wars, and he kind of plays around with that a little bit in this movie.
Yes, there was a reference.
It's a reference.
Which I love.
To the Rebels. But it's... Yeah, so the Knives Out universe is basically just America. Yes. And I think Johnson uses it sort of as a vehicle for social commentary.
Yeah, that's right.
Particularly in terms of what we're seeing in America right now. The first movie was really concerned with immigration.
Yeah. Second film was Billionaires.
Yep.
Sort of the ethical lack of backbone in that whole world. And this one is dealing with faith, I suppose, and religion.
But I think there's a very uniquely American look at the faith that is in this film.
Yes.
I don't think this could be set with this theme of faith in another country and still work as well.
Yeah, I think, because I've watched it twice now, and it definitely has, even though it's in this really quaint setting, I think it's upstate New York, it has this essence of one of those super churches. Do you know what I mean? Those mega churches?
There's a massive televangelist energy to Monsignor Wicks, which is Josh Brolin's character.
Yep.
And I think they really play into that with the cult of personality with Cy Draven, who... again, spoilers that you find out later on is actually his illegitimate son.
Exactly. Yeah. Classic religious theme there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I guess should we talk about the general synopsis?
I guess, just the overall sort of plot. It's fairly, I think, different to the other Knives Out films.
It is.
Because Daniel Craig's character, Benoit Blanc, who is sort of the thread that ties them all together, doesn't appear until an hour into the film.
No. You get, it's really interesting. And I obviously rewatched the first one not long ago either, and just to kind of familiarize myself with the structure and see if there was, sort of major differences. Because like I said, I watched this in the cinema and then I watched it at home, and it definitely felt like it had a very different structure in the sense that, yes, Benoit Blanc, he's in the first shot where you see him reading a letter.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't come back for a long time. I think you noticed was it?
So I didn't. I was doing background research and saw someone point out that it's the first scene of Benoit Blanc. I love that it's very detective-y. It's like he's like sitting reading a mystery near a fire. But it's actually Father Judd, Duplicity.
Well,
We'll get into his name later. He's written a recount of all the events that happened leading up to the murder. And it's opening with Blanc reading this letter and it being narrated. And at the end, it's I've spent the last hour, recounting to you. And it's actually at around the hour mark that happens.
Yes, exactly. And I remember sitting in the theater going, oh my gosh, it's been a long time that we've been kind of going through the sequence of events, which is really like very enjoyable, and it is quite fast, and it doesn't drag whatsoever, but it is unusual to not have him enter until then, Benoit, I mean. So that was certainly different. I feel like the first film, he kind of came in.
He was there pretty much immediately because he was in all of the hitting the notes.
Yeah, and we essentially found out what happened along with him. Whereas, we certainly got taken along the ride, and then he really came in full steam. And that's a brilliant entrance as well. That entire scene where he enters the church is unreal. But certainly a different structure. And essentially what we're dealing with is Father Judd, played by Josh O'Connor. He has a troubled past. He was a boxer.
He killed someone in the ring.
He killed someone in the ring, yeah. And so he's come to the church. He's now a father, and he, the first kind of where the story starts is that he has punched.
He raped a deacon's jaw.
Yeah, exactly. So immediately we kind of understand that he is, I suppose, a problematic character, but not really, because
it's
us on the outside.
Because we never hear what the deacon says.
No, that's right.
But
he's problematic within the church, but to us, we're going, great.
He's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think there is an implication when he's at the hearing, I guess, that they're sending him to this church, Our Lady of Perpetual Fortitude, specifically because he's the type of person that it needs. It's not even necessarily a punishment.
No.
I think they're treating it as a punishment because they have to.
Yes.
But really, it's we need to deal with this problem. Because
exactly.
And he's the only one who really acts like Christ.
Yeah, that's right. He's actually the most, I suppose, centered in the faith. And he kind of does become that foundation of goodness amongst, there were a lot of ways of explaining this crew of people that I think they're referred to as wolves, as rats.
The inner circle.
But it's the inner circle. Yeah, exactly. So who to begin with? Martha, who is played by Glenn Close. I love Glenn Close.
This has got nothing to do with the movie. This is the second film that I've seen recently with Glenn Close and Josh Brolin.
What was it? What was the other?
Brothers with Peter Dinklage, and it is it is not a good movie, but it is a fun movie.
Oh my gosh, that didn't even clock for me. But like, just powerhouses, both of them, Glenn and Josh.
It is a star-studded cast, my lord.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the Instagram pictures when it was first kind of coming together and just being so excited, because they always have great casts, these films, but I don't know, I feel like to get someone like Glenn Close, it just gets so exciting. She's such an icon to me. And she has zero issues with playing weird characters, with playing ugly characters, nasty characters, funny characters. Like she will just do the whole spectrum. Yeah, she goes in. She's currently in that Ryan Murphy show, or is it All's Fair? That Kim Kardashian one?
I do not keep Kardashians at all.
No, she's in everything and she's always great, even in shitty things like that. So yeah, I love her. She plays Martha. She's basically the person that runs it, right? She's knows everything.
She knows everything. She knows whether Judd says she knows where the bodies are buried.
Yeah, I know. I love that. She files everything. And she knows all the secrets. I mean, she genuinely does. And she has that great entrance where it's like this jump scare because
she just appears.
Judd has come into the church and Monsignor Wicks is like, "Have you met Martha?" And he goes, "No." And then she's right behind him and she's just this tiny little harmless looking woman, but she always jumps into scenes like that where you just, or she'll scream, and yeah, she's hilarious. Josh Brolin, like we said, Monsignor Wicks. I mean, yeah,
I know Josh Brolin has done some not great things as an individual, but I love him as an actor.
Me too. And I think he has grown like a lot since his younger days, but yeah, he's definitely like Hollywood bad boy.
Yep.
Whatever. But yeah, he does some cool stuff every now and then in between, Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But he was very cool in this. And yeah, I did read someone describe him as a silver fox, and I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't unhappy. And just someone who really weaponizes faith, I would say. Weaponizes
and his
goodwill.
He's overt about it.
Yeah.
He uses the faith and what he's saying to make his core group fear him.
Yeah.
And he drives everyone else away, which is such a cult tactic.
Totally. Yeah.
You cannot be on the outside because the people on the outside hate you, and it is only when you are with me that you are safe.
Mm-hmm.
And if you leave, bad things will happen.
Exactly. But also that moment later on where he's talking to Cyrus and he goes something like, I just can't stand everyone here. I want to leave. And it's like, of course you're that person that everyone has blindly followed you in all of your horrible moves, and then you turn on them because, of that kind of just well of self-hatred and narcissism. So, yeah, very interesting character. Who else have we got?
Cy Draven's
Mm-hmm.
foster mother?
Yes.
Or, an assumed half-sister.
Yep.
Until the reveal, Vera Draven, who's the daughter of Prentice Wicks, which is Monsignor Wicks's father, his attorney, and then he was also Wicks's drinking buddy.
Yes. And she kind of is introduced as just this extremely loyal woman to all of the men in her life. She wants to please
a child that's not hers without question.
Exactly. Because I think she said it's been 15 years. So he came obviously when he was older.
I think he was about 10.
Right. Okay. So yeah, longer. But she really sacrifices so much of her life. And she says at the beginning, I'm doing all of this so that my father will look down on me and say that I'm, doing well. And that's nice. That's what she says. That's nice. And
I think she never says proud. She says, I think he would be pleased with me.
Yes, exactly. That was a really sad introduction. And she's so fantastic. It's played by Kerry Washington. And yeah, she plays quiet anger very well. Absolutely. And then loud anger. But yeah. Samson, played by Thomas Hayden Church. I love him.
I love him.
He's the best.
He is such a good, reliable, steady person.
Yeah.
And I think him being named Samson is important. I don't know if I mentioned, I have been raised completely a-religious. I don't know much about Catholicism or Christianity. I do know that Samson is an important character in the Bible, in one of the stories, with strength.
Yeah. Yes, totally. And he is
cutting of the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right. But he the way that his hair and costuming is done in this film is very reminiscent of kind of a normal looking Wicks. Like he has very similar
he's the antithesis almost. There's a scene where he's talking about how Wicks has helped him through his own addiction. And the irony there, and again, spoilers, they're going to be all throughout, so at a certain point I'm just going to stop saying it. Wicks never actually stopped drinking.
No.
Whereas Samson has. And I think the tragedy of it all is that Samson was actually a really good dude who did not deserve to be dragged into this mess the way that he was and have what happened to him happen.
Absolutely. That was...
Which I guess goes back to the biblical story of Samson, I think.
Again, this is where we,
we can
like
talk
disclaimer.
Film and technique.
Not our expertise. I was raised in a religious setting until about 12. And I think, for me, the Bible wasn't something that I wasn't there wasn't too much pressure for me to keep up with it. But I am certainly familiar with these kinds of, the kind of power and pressure placed on the leaders to have that sort of unrelenting purity for the followers to also follow their lead, right? So if Samson were to find out that Wicks was still drinking, it would have kind of, and we don't know this, obviously. Samson might have gone, okay, whatever. But
what is the wonderful quote from Blanc when he comes in, pop the perfidious bubble to create a story that he can stomach swallowing.
Oh my gosh.
The foreshadowing
I know.
with that line.
I know.
But also I think it links to a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bursting of bubbles.
Yes. All of them. Except for, I guess... Well, no, all of them. But yeah, it does sort of speak to that power of mythology, stories that are being wielded for good and bad. So yeah, Samson, unfortunately, we lose Samson. But who else have we got? We've got
Lee Ross, the sci-fi writer, played by Andrew Scott. I love Andrew Scott.
Oh my gosh, me too. What did you think about that character though? I thought that was so different, a different kind of person to have in here.
I think it makes sense though. And so, because what I was noticing is each of the characters, the men all kind of represent the way that right-wing extremism is going.
Yep.
So Monsignor Wicks is obviously the televangelist, weaponizing faith.
Yep.
Cy is an influencer and a politician who doesn't actually believe in or care about anything that he's saying. He's like, I've done all the things. I've done 5G, DEI, 3BT, all this random stuff.
Ways to connect to people. That was hilarious.
And he's just, he does not care.
Yeah.
All he cares about is himself.
He says, there's this great quote where he says, people are just numb these days. I don't know why. And it's so good. It's like that classic, wannabe influencer that just wants to hit all the notes so he can grow his audience, but doesn't actually care about what these people are experiencing.
It's all empty rhetoric.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I guess we'll get into Nate a little bit after Lee Ross, I guess, but Nate Sharp, played by Jeremy Renner, he's very representative of the vitriolic misogyny that is rampant there. You know, he was left by his wife, and so now he hates all women, kind of thing. And Lee Ross, I think, is on the other side, where he's become a conspiracy theorist nut job.
Yes.
His following is now survivalists. I just think the end scene where it's all just identical looking dudes lining up to get his book signed is
I know.
So
and he
funny.
hates them.
He hates them.
Yeah. He talks about how he's writing a book about Monsignor Wicks so that he can get out of Substack hell.
Yeah.
And he just hates all of his followers, even though they're all he has. He's that classic. He talks about how he came to upstate New York to unplug from the liberal hive mind.
Yes.
Which is, it's that really interesting kind of thing we're seeing in America, I suppose, all over the West, where the Liberals, so many of them are becoming more centre, growing more right, but still kind of retaining a lot of interesting progressive values, but just not feeling...
There is no left, there's just centre.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Or left of right.
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, he was interesting. He kind of has this baseball cap on and like...
I think he's
very huddled away.
He's built a literal fortress with a moat around.
Right, yeah. Very paranoid.
What I think is funny is that there's this shot of him watering the moat with a hose. And it's just like a tiny little moat, and Judd in the voiceover, it's like, I think it's symbolic. Yeah. But then there's also a painted board sign above the door that says Fortress. Yeah. And what I really love about that is it's really shitty quality.
I know. It looks like a kid.
Good. It looks like a little kid's, but I think that's intentional. It looks like a little kid's like clubhouse.
I think it's everything in this film is so intentional, and I love that because that's, you know, for us, that's the dream, right? We want to be able to look at everything. And look, we're in the time where Stranger Things has come out. Every single thing is being analyzed, and we want we have so many hopes pinned. Yeah, we have so many hopes pinned on creators, filmmakers, directors. But I think Rian is actually one of the few where you can understand that every choice that's been made has been purposeful, which I love. Yeah, it's just a joy to watch because you don't ever feel like you're being taken out of it. You know, you and I were writing copious notes while watching this, but it was never a feeling of detachment.
Yeah.
We were very much immersed, which is something that, is not happening at the moment with things like Stranger Things, where I'm like...
I think it's the distinction between content and cinema.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And with a lot of it, it's come to a point where it's just do it so that people want to watch the next thing.
Exactly.
Just get the views up.
Yeah.
I think with to go back to Andrew Scott's character, I don't think this is a character that will work if it were a woman. He has to be a man because it's an intensely male paranoia.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And he hates it. He's filled with self-loathing and loathing of everyone else around him.
Yeah. Definitely believes that he's higher than most around him in a similar way to, you know, Wicks, right? It's kind of this like real hatred towards your flock. But also, where would I be without them? So he's definitely in a similar headspace. And of course, they just attract each other like magnets. And then there's, what's her name? Simone,
the cellist.
Haley Spaney.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think about her?
I thought she was fascinating for a similar reason to Lee Ross, in that I think she's a character who could only have been played by a woman.
Yeah.
Because she is someone who experiences a mysterious chronic pain condition that doctors cannot diagnose. Yeah. And I don't think I know a woman in my life who has not had that experience. Oh, we don't know what it is. It's probably just your period.
Exactly.
It's anxiety.
Invisible.
Fine. This
I can't
is normal.
see it. Yeah, so therefore it doesn't exist. Yeah.
She is someone who uses a wheelchair. She is someone who struggles, and she is financially keeping this church afloat.
Exactly.
Because she's been told by Monsignor Wicks that he can heal her.
Yes.
And then at the end, he's like, I can't heal you. You're faithless.
Yeah, puts it back on her, which is like
classic Darvo.
Quite a devastating thing to watch. And she's a really lovely actress. Like, she doesn't have to do much with her expression to say a lot. And I thought she was really classic in that sort of reserved performance where she's able to hold a lot of anger but also a lot of vulnerability.
And she does jaded very well.
Yes, that's a great way to say it. She's very, you can kind of see she's smoking, she's quite bitter, but she's still there, it's just this real like sense of this is all I've got, and surely money can can get it for me. Alas. But yeah, is that everyone? And then let's talk about Grace.
And Grace.
Yeah.
Like, because so this church, Our Lady of Perpetual Fortitude. Fortitude, I think, is an interesting thing because it can be like to fortify, to make yourself strong and to stand against things. But it also, like, the perpetuality of it, like, makes me think of being rigid and isolated. And I think that's, you know, really the core of the church. And I think, what is something about a hardened cyst?
Yeah.
That's what he calls it.
Yes.
But Grace is Monsignor Wicks's mother.
Yep.
And she is told by his father, her father, that as long as she stays under his roof, she will get his millions of dollars.
Because she's basically brought a whole bunch of shame because she had a child out of wedlock, which is Wicks. And
she's not ever referred to by her name until the latter half of the film.
Yeah.
She is, and I suppose going forward we should probably, introduce a language warning. She's only ever called the harlot whore. And she haunts the narrative.
She's incredible. I apologize. I don't know who she is played by. But she basically enters the story in such a, it's so violent. Yes. Yeah. And she is just angry, and we don't know who the father is. It's never really, I don't think it's ever really brought into the conversation, but she is someone who is unapologetic. She has had this child. She's stuck there now so that she can get her, her inheritance.
She can escape.
Yes. And we see a lot of young Martha playing with...
she's played by Annie Hamilton.
Okay. She's incredible. So playing little... Monsignor Wicks is playing with little Martha, but little Martha is watching this whole thing go down with Grace, where so her father dies, doesn't leave her anything, so we are led to believe, right? And Grace tears the place down. This scene,
the opening scene is just, and I think it's really interesting to me that up until this scene, Grace is depicted as wearing red. And then in this scene, she's wearing white.
Yes.
She's wearing a white shift.
Yep.
And the red is all around her.
Yeah, exactly.
But the light still falls on her, and I think we'll talk about lighting a bit later.
Yeah.
But the light still falls on her.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of interplay with Grace and the sort of idea of Eve, I think, and obviously I've spoken about it in previous chats with Ash, but in the film Carrie, it's a lot of religious themes. The mother is heavily religious and talks to Carrie when she first gets her period about the sins of Eve. And basically, I've got it here. She basically talks about how the reason that women are plagued with the curse of blood is because of Eve's choice to have intercourse. And therefore, women for eternity will always have a curse.
It's just so...
It's a lot of pressure.
How do you think we got here if women don't have intercourse?
Yeah, exactly. And so, all Eve's fault. And they have a lot of, in that film, they draw a lot of threads between, obviously, that story and Red. And it can kind of, pull ties with, obviously, blood, but also sexuality, also evil. And I just felt like the total bathing of Grace in that red light was so clever, because like you say, that moment where she's angry, she's in white, but the world is red.
And I think it speaks to, because I love color symbolism in costume design because you can say so much with it. And if we're looking at it from a religious perspective, again, not a religious person, don't know that much, but know enough.
Yeah.
White is meant to be virginal, right? White is purity. It is, a color associated with someone who has done no wrong.
Yeah.
Red, on the other hand, is the color of the harlot. It is the color of blood. It's the A that gets branded on the test in the scarlet letter.
Yeah. Mary Magdalene.
And and so in the scene where we see her going into what's framed as a demonic rage, possessed by evil for this desire and greed for money as it's presented and believed by everyone, she's wearing the color of purity.
Yeah. Yeah.
She is surrounded by red. And I think that's a really early hint that she is actually a wronged woman.
Yes.
She has been done wrong by this church and by the men in her life.
Yeah,
her
exactly.
father, the father of her child.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
later on, even her own child.
Yes. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And so basically what happens is this scene is shown where she's searching for her inheritance in the church, and she's pulling down the cross from the top. That's right.
That's why there's no cross in the church.
Yep. She's knocking things down, and she essentially kills herself by slamming herself up against the crypt that her
the Lazarus tomb.
So she brings on her own death, essentially. That's what, that's sort of how it's been written. But you do always just get the sense that, she wasn't sorry about it. Like I'm refusing to be colored by, whatever you people have thought about me. I'm wearing white. I'm finding what is mine. But then she dies in this incredible scene where it's raining, and it's almost, I think you also brought up earlier before we started chatting about Gothic. It's very Gothic. Very Gothic. That sort of shot of her outside in the rain, just dying, essentially. It was, it's incredible. So, and then this film is interjected by so many little flashbacks
to her as well.
Yes, exactly. And I love it because it's like you say, it's haunting. It's kind of, she's popping in all the time.
And I don't think much changes necessarily in some of the shots, but there is a shot towards the end, right as the perpetrator forgives her, and we see her looking up again from a very similar scene. It's just, I don't know if it's I'm imagining it or if Annie Hamilton is just a brilliant actress. There's a shift in how she appears visually, in her eyes and in her expression, and I think her being named Grace is incredibly important because that's sort of the central topic is to have grace and
forgiveness.
At the end of it all, Judd renames the church Our Lady of Perpetual Grace.
Yes, I know.
Because
loved it.
Grace is like, again, don't know much about religion, don't know much about the teachings. Pretty sure to have grace is like one of the more fundamental teachings of Christ.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved that even just that entire ending, because we discover that the inheritance did exist, and it has been, am I allowed to say?
Yeah, I mean, we've said
spoilers. It has been placed back in the cross, and the cross has been, put back on the wall. So again, I mentioned to Ash, I was watching the rewatch with my stepson, who goes to a Catholic church, maybe against his will, and he was, he was talking about the kind of importance of having the cross in the church, and the fact that Monsignor Wicks chooses to keep that cross down as a reminder of the harlot whore is so hateful, to just go like, we're not going to have the kind of faith that you want in this place, because we need to remind you about the evil of woman, basically.
and this is something that I've been told is crazy for a Catholic church. There is no depiction of Mary anywhere within that church.
Right.
The bride of God, but also the mother of Jesus, who is also God, like, she's not there. And from hearing other Catholic people I know who are sort of a younger generation, they're like, oh, Mary's our mom. Like, where is she?
Yeah.
She's very central to Catholicism.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's kind of the driving force, is just the shame around the sort of female iconography. It's just getting omitted because they don't deserve a place in there. We don't want we want the reminder of what they've done wrong. So it's very much used against them, and it kind of carries through in Wicks's sermons. He very much, we have a kind of a montage sequence where
he's just chasing.
He's chasing people out, and we get a single mother, and we get a gay couple. Is there anyone else? I can't remember.
Think so.
But it's very overt, like the kinds of minorities, I suppose, that he's just going, get out of here, scaring them out and making them feel shameful. It is so American.
But I also think it's very religious.
Yeah.
And maybe this is me being a bit of a religious cynic, is that there's a lot of wanting people to feel shame, because if they feel shame, then they're going to be ushered closer to God, to try and repent for these things that they feel shame about. Whereas Judd is very, like he's just a solid bloke.
He is. There are so many occasions where he's grappling with whether or not he's good, and yet, we as the audience can see there are so many occasions where his goodness just is relentless. And before I talk about that a little bit more, because I definitely want to, there's this quote from Cyrus where Judd is talking to him, getting to know him, and Cyrus, like we said, is going, I tried to connect to all of them. I guess I just don't have the cult of personality. And Judd suggests, like, how about we just go back to the fundamentals of trying to connect with people? And Cyrus says, oh, you mean show them something they hate and make them afraid it's going to take away something they love? And I think that is so reflective of the religious situation, but also the nation's situation. That could be said about so many of the conflicts going on, but it is very telling of that kind of the way that Wicks is approaching faith and the way that Judd is trying to approach faith. And yet I want to chat about just how many occasions Judd, even in his darkest moments or his most desperate moments, considers the people around him, right? So there's this scene where obviously when Benoit enters, and it's at a time when Judd is in the church, he's freaking out because, he's being framed essentially, and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know where to turn. He's praying, and then Benoit enters, and it becomes obvious through their conversation that Benoit is not of the faith. And even though Judd has just been literally having a panic attack, he turns to Benoit and asks, how are you feeling in here? How does this place make you feel? Like, he's always checking in and just making sure. And obviously then we get this incredible
the lighting.
The lighting, right,
makes me crazy.
Okay, so in that scene in particular, so Judd is having this moment, this crisis. He's on his knees, and then behind him, Benoit enters, opens the church doors, and draws light in. But
Benoit's also in shadow.
He is walking in between. He goes through the aisle, and he's walking in between shadow and light. And then when Judd asks him, how does this place make you feel? And Benoit
I like the architecture.
Yeah. He pretty much tears it to shreds. And he gets quite, I'm not going to say angry, he just gets quite like emotive. And during that time, he's totally bathed in shadow.
And I think we learn a lot about Benoit Blanc as a character from it. We already know that he is queer.
Yeah.
We see that he has a husband.
Yes, second film. Yeah.
In the second film. And in this one, we learn a little bit more because he's talking about, he's not close with his mother and alludes to it being because of religion, Catholicism, Christianity, whichever flavor you want to pick.
Yeah.
And he also talks about how the church upholds misogyny and homophobia, and he doesn't stand with it.
Yes.
And how he talks about it and then how Judd starts interacting with him is, I think, just this wonderful representation of who Judd is as a person. There's a scene that I want to talk about later that also really encapsulates that, because he meets Blanc where he's at.
Absolutely.
Blanc is talking about they're just stories, and he's like, he goes, you're right. This isn't a medieval church. This is 19th century neo-Gothic in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is the stories that we tell. And when he's talking about that, when he gets to be a priest, the sun comes out and it shines like a halo behind him.
Yep, exactly.
And there's so many instances where the light is, when Judd specifically gets to feel like a priest, when the light hits him.
Yes, exactly. And the fact that he is in his darkest times, Judd, having a real crisis, and is like the way that Benoit talks about the faith could be quite, that could really trigger anger and judgment. Please don't attack my faith. I'm already, on my lowest days. And then to have him still, like you say, meet Benoit where he is and come at it totally, that's your opinion and I respect that. There was no disrespect, which I thought that speaks more to who Judd's sort of foundation is than anything else. Regardless of, there's this moment where he goes, I didn't kill him, but I hated him.
Yeah.
And so maybe I did kill him, and it's like, that kind of shows you what he's grappling with internally.
And throughout the whole thing, he's obsessed with like trying to take accountability for something that he didn't do.
No.
And it's, there's a lot of jokes about Catholic guilt there, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's also so deeply selfless. He knows that the core group of the church don't like him.
Yeah.
And he still offers his support.
Yeah.
He still offers to Nate, even as he's taunting him for being a killer priest, would you like me to come and speak with you? Would you like support?
I know.
And he does that for everyone. And he's shunned by it so heavily because I think it's that he threatens their status quo.
Right. That's what, it's interesting. Like the inner circle are terrified to engage with him in any way because they fear Wicks, right? And it happens, Judd tries to have this lovely little
like a
private
circle,
private meeting, and it's not. I suppose it's to get them away from Wicks and just have a separate chat. And they fully call him out on it, with like such nastiness that is not warranted, but it just shows how terrified they are that they're going to get found out.
They don't follow Monsignor Wicks from love, they follow him out of fear.
Yeah, and we see that so much with cults, right?
Yep.
Of that kind of, there are these sections that kind of come out, people form their own little mini cult within the cult, and there's a lot of fear around discovery. But it just shows you, how much Wicks has kind of created this very locked in situation. And Judd is constantly trying to separate them, I suppose, as a way of reaching them, but it's practically impossible.
There was one moment, and because I was reading, from interviews with Rian Johnson about the symbolism, and I suppose if you're more familiar with the Bible and the stories, you'll be able to pick up the symbolism everywhere.
Maybe.
But the two sort of major ones is obviously Lazarus and it being linked to Easter.
Yes.
So, of course, the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But then also David and Goliath.
Yes.
And I think there is a scene of Wicks and Judd. I think it's actually during one of the confessions where Judd is finally like, stop talking about your masturbation.
I'm on to you.
It's like, I know you're lying.
Oh my gosh.
And suddenly Wicks becomes massive and he is physically dwarfing Judd in this scene as he knocks him off his chair.
Let's talk
and
about
starts beating him up.
Yep.
And I feel like there's one other scene somewhere where Judd is again dwarfed by Wicks.
Yeah, I immediately thought of that scene where Judd walks into the, I suppose when all of the inner circle are getting, punished for, seeing Judd and Wicks kind of comes at him with a Bible and throws it at Judd. It's not the same dwarfing, but it's very frightening the way he like hurdles at the scene, at the camera. But the outdoor confessions were really fascinating to me. I thought it was clever that they're not doing it. And I don't, again, we're not Catholics, so I don't know why a confession would be not happening within the
confessional booth. Yeah.
I'm not too sure, but I kind of just read it as Wicks isn't doing something holy here. He's very much lying to Judd and using faith and using these kind of holy processes to intimidate him, frighten him off. And so he basically lies to Judd about, I masturbated here, I masturbated this, I masturbated over the Catholic Chronicle magazine. And it really sort of perturbs Judd, but he stands his ground through quite a lot of it. But the cinematography in that sort of, because it's a recurring scene, right? They have quite a few outdoor confessions.
Have two or three.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's in the same location, and Wicks always has his back to the church and Judd is looking at the church. And I don't think it's quite a low angle.
It's not quite worm's eye, but it is lower looking up.
Yes, and the church just kind of looms over them. And I always thought it gave Wicks more power because it's behind him. But I actually wonder if Wicks is turning his back to it because he knows what he's doing is wrong. It's an interesting sort of...
I think I do like what you're saying about it giving Wicks more power because it is looming. He is using it threateningly because I feel like all the really powerful moments for Judd in terms of faith happen inside the church.
Yes.
It's when he's speaking to Blanc. It's when he's speaking to Martha right at the end as he's holding her. Yeah. Like on the steps of the altar.
Yes.
Effectively.
Yes.
And it's when he is speaking with Louise on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Which...
my gosh.
That scene is actually what Rian Johnson said is the whole thesis of the film.
Yeah.
It's that specific theme scene.
It is unreal. I definitely cried both viewings when it got to that scene. And even though I knew it was coming, it's just this halting moment where, the chaos of the crime, we're uncovering, more clues, and we're our pace is quickening. And then someone needs Judd to be a priest, and he just drops it. Even though he's anxious and he wants answers, but he is on the phone to Louise and she needs him to pray for her, and he just exits the room, closes the door, and we're stuck in the room with Benoit. And we can see that time has gone by. It was a sunny day. Now it's, raining at night. So we know that he has spent a long time with Louise on the phone. And it was so touching because that kind of leads to his road to Damascus thing, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like, I'm done. Like, he got really caught up.
It made him, and he says, it made me feel like a priest again.
Yeah. And that's all he's really running towards. And it's kind of the only peace that he gets during these moments where, people are out to get him. His presence is growing online. It's very scary. So, that was lovely. And that was Bridgette Everett. Who I love.
And
She's the best.
I think it's really worth noting that he doesn't say God is here for you, find comfort in God. He goes, I am here for you.
Yeah.
I am here.
I'm real.
Here is my number. If you need me, you call me. Not pray and God will answer. He is there. He the individual.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that Rian Johnson does so well, is the tonal shifts never feel like whiplash.
No.
It is. It starts off chaotic and funny. It's like, oh, she's, a chatty Cathy on the phone, like, the classic receptionist. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, actually, she's really going through something.
Yes.
And you see it in other scenes. Like, I was watching some GIFs of it earlier. The first scene where Monsignor Wicks goes to take my confessional, he's in the middle of measuring the cross.
Right.
And the
measuring tape.
The measuring tape is like at sort of waist level. And when Monsignor Wicks says that, it just pops down.
It goes down. He's lost it.
It's, yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny.
It's always, it just works. It just works.
It was hilarious. There were like, I've read that some people thought that the first one was funnier. And I think maybe potentially it could be just something that is lighter. This film is definitely,
much darker.
It was darker. It has a lot of complexity. But I found maybe that's why the funny moments really helped, because we're dealing with like very intense subject matter. And so, moments like that, I really liked when, Judd is going in to confess for a crime he didn't do. And things are getting very intense. And so then he walks into the police station. He's like, I don't know where Judd is. And then he walks in and it's got that little like ding dong.
Yeah.
He's just going to go and line up at the desk. Like, no, not going to happen. And then all of the Glenn Close jump scares I adore.
Amazing.
Yeah. No, it was really funny, but just kind of, like you say, it doesn't feel abrupt. It's very much needed, I suppose.
And I think this is something this is why I think Jordan Peele is such an excellent horror director, is you need to understand timing.
Yeah.
You need to understand where things are given space to breathe.
Yep.
And scenes are allowed to breathe in this film.
Yeah, and you also don't want to frustrate your audience by, like you say, having that kind of whiplash. I remember in Jordan Peele's Get Out, the last scene is very funny, but it has just come after a lot of violence and death, and you have to be so careful with that, because I think when you put your audience through a particular kind of hell, you have to make that call about whether or not you will end with something light or if that will just feel cheap. And it's never felt cheap. And I think that's the same here. It's kind of, you don't have these deep moments of like reflection or dire panic. It's always treated very carefully. The whole narrative is treated carefully. I do think that at 2 hours and 26 minutes, it's very long.
It is very long, but it never felt like a slog.
No, I think it's because of the structuring of it.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, because there's a definite moment, there's a break in that first hour, and then it goes, okay, now we're into the next. And then sort of the last 20 minutes is that whole wrap up.
Yes. And then it's a year later, which I love seeing him happy and the cross is back on the wall and stuff. So I loved that as well. But
I like that he never tries to convert Benoit Blanc.
Yeah.
He's always just, it's like, you're welcome to stay if you want. He goes, no, I don't think I do want to. And then he's allowed to leave with grace.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
I picked I knew who was behind it all at about an hour and a half in.
Did you?
And even knowing who had done everything and I didn't understand how.
Yeah.
Or even necessary. I kind of saw the why, because there is that moment where Judd challenges this person, says, can you walk in and confess your deepest sin to Monsignor Wicks?
Yeah.
And she goes, yes, I can. And then she does, and you see her leave looking frightened, and then you see him leave confessional looking angry.
And just like blown away. Yeah.
And it's... I at first I thought the gloves that she wears was representative of that, but then I've also seen a few other films with Glenn Close in it lately, and she's wearing gloves in almost all of them.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I'm not sure if it's a Glenn Close choice.
Yeah, maybe.
My friend was like, maybe she wants to hide her hands because she's getting a bit older.
Yeah, she could have like arthritis.
Yeah, things like that.
Big, yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but
gloves are also costume-wise and symbolically often used to indicate a character who is hiding something.
Yes, and kind of stealthy and also like separate. Like doesn't want to kind of leave
Get their hands dirty.
Exactly. But yeah, I obviously rewatching because I didn't. And then when you rewatch it, you're like, oh my gosh, duh. But even still, I felt like this film was much more about the how.
Yeah.
Like
it was the textbook perfect crime.
Yes, yeah. It was that's kind of what pulls you through the whole thing because, yeah, like you say, you figured it out at the midpoint. And we can kind of piece together the why, and it's very interesting. But really, the whole way through, you're going, wait, how though? How? Like, and I did read press where Rian was really banging his head against a wall trying to figure out how to solve it himself as he was writing it. So it's a really complex crime, which is fantastic because I feel like all of the Knives Out films are complex, but this one, there were a million different puzzles being solved at once. So yeah, I can understand why it was 2 hours, 26 minutes, but I don't know. It was a fun ride.
It was a fun ride.
Down.
I think, I was reading some stuff on, I've got no idea how to pronounce this website, Tudum. That makes sense. The Netflix sound.
Netflix.
Yeah. Johnson's actually saying that he's talking about the symbolism that's there, and Martha is apparently from a story in Gospels, and Martha is a character who's constantly serving. I don't know if it's Christ or like a church or the faith or something.
Serving.
But then she's frustrated that she's not getting recognized for all that she's done.
Yeah.
And I think there is
like
a little...
Martha.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think there is a little bit of that anger in Martha because she witnesses Prentice's... It's framed as a death, but metatextually it's almost a suicide. He eats the apple.
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Yeah, exactly.
And the apple in this case being a
giant
worth millions of dollars.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, did they tell us how he got that? That's weird.
He took all of his money from his accounts and then
he just bought it.
Like put it into the diamond to swallow it. And so in that instance, he's actually committed two sins.
Yes.
Which is the money and everything, but then also to take your own life is
a sin
within, that faith. And it's like the main one.
Yeah.
And so he's Lazarus
in
the Lazarus tomb, and then everything that happens with that. But Martha knows. She witnessed it.
Yeah.
And she taunts Grace with it because, she's a young kid who's been indoctrinated by this faith.
Exactly right. Like there was until literally her dying breath, no sort of real reckoning with what she did to Grace. You know, it was very much like she did not want to forgive her. And Judd really was like, you need to. And she does.
Yeah.
But the whole way through, she is just, that indoctrination is so pillar to herself and to the church. And she makes it that way. She is constantly reiterating Wicks's.
And I think it was Samson's death that actually
shakes
her faith.
Yeah, totally.
She didn't think that anything like that could ever happen.
The scene where Vera goes, you know, I've been sent this document, you know, you're Cyrus's father, and she's so angry. She calls right back to Grace and says, you know, I always wondered about her, and you know, you created this story about the harlot whore, but really all you were doing was just shaming her, this single mother, you know. And it was interesting, like this kind of, like you say, we're dealing with biblical sort of stories the whole way through, and it's, I guess, also a little bit Mother Mary, like just this idea of course I'll have this baby, and you know, anything for you.
Of course I will give you my everything.
Yeah,
and
but
serve
also you have to
without
be a
questioning.
virgin. Yeah. And yeah, you know, the fact that Grace had sex and had this baby.
And
done for.
we never know anything else. I've seen people speculating about like the nature of her relationship with her father, given a lot of, like, you know, someone pointed out that Mary is both the mother of God and the bride of God.
Yeah.
Abuse within the church. But then, you know, we don't know. We never find out why she wanted the money, because we don't need to. All we need to know is she is a woman who was wronged.
Yes.
It
was like she was the daughter.
She was the daughter.
Her inheritance.
Yeah, she doesn't need to have a sympathetic reason, like wanting to, you know, needing a surgery or, you know, all of this sort of stuff. She just, she was owed something.
Yes, exactly. It was her birthright.
Yeah.
And he just, like, I would have been pissed.
Absolutely. I think the birthright, it entirely is, and it's called back to right at the end, where, because there's a scene towards the start where Judd says, "Yeah, you can lie, you just don't say the dishonest part out loud."
Yeah.
And that's at the end where he's talking to Cy, and Cy's like, "I'm gonna send my lawyers after you. You're gonna be ruined. Yada yada yada. I want my birthright." And Judd's just like, "Your birthright is with Christ."
I know. I loved that. And I immediately knew it's in the cross. It's in the cross. That was great.
I think the writing on this was beautiful. I don't even remember the context of the quote, but young, dumb, and full of Christ.
I know.
Was just great.
That was early. That's early in the film. And I thought, yeah, you've just like set the tone, I think.
But also like the things, you know, with the foreshadowing from Benoit, who already has by nature sort of a more flowery effect about him.
Yeah.
But then Vera says the money's just one drop, something in the Bible of my bitterness.
Yes, exactly.
And the writing.
And I thought she was also emblematic of Mary, right? Just that kind of, you need to sacrifice yourself and your life for this child who, you know, you didn't have sex and get pregnant. You just, here he is.
Yep.
Raise him, please.
All the women were in some way wronged.
Absolutely.
And all the women were the ones who get to heal and move on.
Yeah.
Nate is obviously dead.
Yep.
Samson is, I argue, an innocent party who was wronged.
Totally.
Monsignor Wicks is dead. Lee Scott.
Lee's the same old angry
sci-fi writer.
Yep.
And I just think it's, you know, the technical aspect behind it. Like, obviously, the cinematography throughout is amazing. With the Road of Damascus motif, almost all of the shots have important ones, I think, have a center line
Yes.
right through them. We see we only ever see the corridor of the forest in that one specific thing. Characters run through it.
Yes.
But we never see different angles of that forest.
No, that's right. And he is walking through it, center. And it kind of acts as a bit of a act 1, 2, 3 situation.
Yes. It breaks it up.
It does, and it's different, literally like different backdrops. Like it's sunshine, then it's fog, then it's storm. Like after the storm, it's very, I guess, reflective of Judd's state, which I loved. But the cinematography in general, it was a joy to watch. I think it was very reminiscent of, and tell me if you agree, but kind of 60s, 70s style. And Rian Johnson's always like this, where there's a lot of like whip pans and sort of static cameras that will then zoom in. And we saw that all the time in that kind of golden age cinema. And it wasn't locked into a genre. It was very much that was kind of commonplace cinematography choices. And it gives this vintage feeling to the film, which I really, really love, because, you and I were talking last time about the kind of cinematography that we're getting used to with.
Where it's just like two people talking on a screen.
Yes. Yeah. This film had such beautiful, purposeful choices around depth of field, dolly shots. Oh my gosh, that shot where
I would love to see the storyboard.
Okay, right. That shot where Judd sees the resurrection, essentially, and we have that dolly zoom where he's watching it, and it's zooming in, but the background is zooming.
Yeah.
Unreal. I loved it. I thought that was such a perfect choice for that moment.
Punch as well was great.
Punch right into the screen, black, and then just a lit hand. Incredible. I know the lighting was unbelievable, but there's something to be said about the kind of aesthetic that can be imparted by the cinematography as well.
So the director of photography is also the guy behind the lighting.
That makes sense.
So that's Steve Yedlin.
Right.
And so I was reading this piece on Roger Ebert where Rian Johnson was speaking to Chase Hutchinson, because apparently, I didn't know this, Roger Ebert is dead.
Yeah, I know, but he had a website.
He still has a website with a lot of people.
Very much active, yes.
And so what Johnson was saying is one of the things that he wanted to focus on was using lighting to set the tonal mood of the movie and having the mood be more gothic.
Yeah.
And he was inspired by growing up in Colorado.
Yeah.
Where I think we kind of experience it here a little bit.
Absolutely.
The clouds move really, really fast there. So a room that is, warm and lit by the sun and feeling very cozy will suddenly be dark because
absolutely
the sun goes behind a cloud.
Yeah.
And described that as the emotional language of the room changing.
I love that.
And so he wanted to, and this is a direct quote, get very theatrical with those light changes, particularly in the church. So what they did was they created a lighting control system using Yedlin's laptop. And so you could press a button and the light would change.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh my God, they've waited for the perfect moment for the sun to come out behind them. And I
thought they would have had to be shooting so many, dusk.
But no, it's like, it's incredible.
That's
incredible lighting rigging, which I think is just,
I hope they
amazing.
Win all the awards.
All the awards.
Yeah, that's really cool. But yeah, again, there's probably less to be said about things like costume and makeup aside from people like Grace.
I have read that a lot of people they've done a really good job of making Judd look muddy and dirty, because apparently the robes that they wear really hard to look dirty. They're designed to withstand a lot.
Oh my God, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
But that, you just reminded me that extreme close up of Judd's eyes when he's fallen in that mud and woken up and he's been punched, and it is incredible quality of just seeing that mud in his face, on his, getting into his eyeballs. It was, unreal. And I think as well, this is a film that was released in theaters but is a Netflix film.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot being written on.
Please release more films in cinemas.
Please. I'm actually going to see The Housemaid, which will be fun at the cinema. But yeah, there's a lot to be said about the Netflixification of cinema and how
Stranger Things,
how, it's kind of got this really glossy quality to it. But I think for certain creators, they really do put a lot into creating it, on film or on IMAX. I can't remember what this one was, but it's because it's being made for a theater.
And it's often...
and then being released on Netflix.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which I think is how it should be. It's also often those directors and auteurs who I'm more likely to recall. Wes Anderson has a specific style. Rian Johnson has a specific style. Del Toro, Yorgos Lanthimos.
Absolutely.
In a way, unfortunately, even Michael Bay, even if it's just explosions.
No, exactly right. Like, I forget what I was watching the other day. It probably was Stranger Things, where they're going, like, why the Michael Bay of it all? It's just so, he's got such a distinct style, whether we like it or not, he does. And it has permeated a lot of cinema since, unfortunately. But yeah, there's definitely, I guess, like a whole conversation around, yes, obviously Netflix content and what's going on there, and how we're kind of there's content being created for a general audience versus cinema that is being made to be released and be experienced in the cinema and then brought to TV as per, tradition. So,
and I've heard from other people who have said this is largely about video games. A game for everybody is a game for nobody.
Yeah.
I think it's the same with film. A film for everybody is, I think maybe it doesn't work as well with film, but if you're trying to please everybody, then it's going to be a poor quality film.
I mean,
there's going to be no substance to it.
Firstly, like, this film in particular got a lot of hate from its
right-wing Christian nationalists.
Yeah. So certainly not for everybody, but I'm trying to think of other examples aside from Stranger Things. But there is definitely kind of a movement towards, because obviously, lots of different factors, price of living, all of that, we're dealing with the decline in theatre going.
Yeah.
So there is obviously that push to kind of make things more accessible for all.
And then ironically, it's less accessible because it's across 20 different streaming sites.
There's no substance to it. And I love cinema that is, strange, weird, ambiguous, like all of those open endings. I love it. And that is kind of, if we're not careful, it gets washed out. So yeah, I personally, I'm all for it, and Knives Out, obviously that's a very clear cut film. It's tied up in a lovely bow, and that's great too. But I certainly don't think that Rian Johnson has any desire to please all.
Yeah.
Like he's, yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts on the film?
Final thoughts would be that I don't recommend watching this as part of a, self-made double feature. I did that and it was the second film, and I started watching it at like 9:30 p.m. And this film deserves to be watched on its own. And I absolutely could have I would have loved watching it in a much sort of cozier setting. I really think, similar to the first film, like it really deserves its own aesthetic. So yeah, that would be a recommendation from me. Like, give it the whole day.
Absolutely. Do a trilogy watch.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd be so down for that.
Absolutely.
I think that's, there's a lot online that you can go out and read about it. I would really recommend going and reading, watch interviews with Rian Johnson. The way he talks about it's really fantastic.
Yes.
And if you have suggestions or even questions for Bridgette, probably more Bridgette than me about film theory and studies, or suggestions for other films for us to discuss, let us know. You can email us at tunefm@une.edu.au. I think that's a wrap.
Yay! Good job.
Thank you for joining me.
This was so much fun, as always.
It's a great film to talk about. There's so much there, and I love that. Just as you said in the Frankenstein one, women.
It's just always about women.
Always about women.
Yeah,
I think that's fantastic.
Women being wronged. Yeah, I'm here for it.
Thank you for joining me,
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening.